ask me how am I feeling today, I would say I am so excited to have you in my first virtual discussion. So I hope everyone is safe and well, especially this COVID-19 experience that we have. By the way, I am Rogeline B. Rias. You can call me Teacher Roj, welcoming you in this first video discussion. Are you ready? Okay, that would be great hearing it from you, since I have lined up something for you, and it is going to be something new and something different. So if you are ready, let us start. Before we will go to the proper discussion, I have some reminders for you to be accountable of. So the first reminder is to be ready. You must be ready with your modules or your learning activity sheets. You must have to have your study notebook and of course your ball pens. The second reminder is to dress appropriately. Third, find a quiet and comfortable place to study, because the comfortable the place is, the better the learning. 4, be attentive. 5 is a big no-no. You don't have to upload this video in any social media sites. Let's now proceed. Your academic track is General Academic Strength or GAS, and our subject is Organization and Management. So again, our subject is Organization and Management. We will focus on our subject. Proceeding to is to present our learning competency. Our learning competency is to explain the importance of selection process. This is our main target. This competency or objective comes from DepEd. That is why the code is reflected. And of course, the topic is good for week 3 in quarter 2. From our learning objective or learning competency, our focus actually is on the contents. And the contents of these discussions are selection, type of job interviews, types of employment tests, and limitation of the selection processes. As I have told you, you must have to have your module or your learning activity sheets because in your activity sheets or learning activity sheets, the contents are there. All you have to do is try to read, try to scan the module or the LAS for you to know that all of the contents are reflected in the module or LAS I gave to you before this video discussion. So we will stop here because I want you to have or to get your ball pens and your study notebook to answer the first activity before I have to discuss to you our topic or before I have to discuss to you the contents of this video discussion. So do not forget that our objective again is to explain the importance of selection process. However, we will go into discussing the contents of this discussion. So we have again the selection, types of job interviews, types of employment tests, and limitation of the selection process. So you have to prepare your ball pen and your study notebook before we will proceed to answer the first activity. Explore. Yes, for the first activity is your Explorer. So before we will discuss the proper discussion, let us have a little test for you, a pre-test for you. So the direction is to write the correct word being defined inside the box. So I will present to you the statement, then you have to scan your learning activity sheets to get for the correct answer. But I will only give you 5 counts while looking for the correct answer. So for the first statement is, the interviewer has no interview guide and may ask questions freely. Your time. Okay, so what is the correct answer? It is an structured interview. Okay, very good. Number 2. Test his or her present skills and potential for learning other skills. Okay, can someone guess the correct answer? Very good. It's proficiency and aptitude tests. For number 3, tests that show the occupation best suited to applicant. Alright, it is vocational test. Number 4. One interviewer is assigned to interview the applicant. Okay, so the answer is one-on-one interview. Number 5. Several interviewers or a panel interviewer may conduct the interview of applicants. 3 to 5 interviewers take turns in asking questions. Okay, you give me your answer. It's panel interview. Okay, so I know you are done checking and counting your score for the first activity that we had under Explore. And I know, of course, that everybody got the correct answer, 5 correct answers in the first activity. But more of that, we also have to know something more about this topic, which is the selection. Explain to you what is in our discussion. So first is knowing what is selection. So selection is the process of choosing individuals who have the required qualifications to fill the present and expected job openings. In some other companies, selection also is continuous because of fast turnover, resulting in vacancies that have to be filled. Another reason for this is the review of applicants on the waiting list. So there are 3 things that we must remember why we need selection, why we need to select an applicant. First, in some companies, there is a fast turnover. And second, there are a lot of vacancies. And third, there are applicants on the waiting lists. So these 3 are few of the factors that could really affect why selection exists in some companies. And in selecting this suit and qualified individual, we have the selection processes. So what are the steps in the selection processes? Number 1, establishing the selection criteria. So selecting human resource in an organization requires understanding of the nature and purpose of the job position which has to be filled. Knowing the criteria, of course, is also leading to choosing who is the qualified applicant and what are the standards in this vacant position. So 3, it should meet actually the qualities of the applicants, the criteria for the job position, the vacant job position, and the criteria of the employer. So that is one thing that we must know. Why we have to establish the selection criteria. Of course, we want to choose who really is qualified or suits into that job position. So we must establish the selection criteria. So that is the first step. Number 2, requesting applicants to complete the application form. Of course, I am referring to big companies. In big companies, there is really processes in selecting these qualified applicants. And one thing that they will require, of course, is the application form. So application forms must be completed because this provide the needed information about the applicant. Of course, because this application forms tells all the data of the applicant. Management will find it easier to decide whether an applicant meets the minimum requirements for experience, okay, education, and etc. if the application forms are accurately filled out by the applicant. So, what is the significance of application form? It tells all the unsaid information of yours. So, these are the details of the applicants, putting it into writing. So, that is one of the significance of application forms. And you will never be part of this applicants if you will not comply the application forms. So you have to have your application forms by applicants who seem to meet the criteria. So this third step involves the preparation of a short list of applicants who meet the minimum requirements of the job position to be filled. It is done to avoid wasting of time by conducting interviews with applications who do not meet the set criteria for the job openings. Okay, so the step 1, of course, is setting the criteria for the applicants. The second step is the applicant must fill in the application forms. The third step is the management responsibility. This is not a time that they will have to make a short list of these applicants who were able to, of course, meet the standards in that particular job position. And so, if you're the applicant and you have to fill in the application form, you must have to be honest with the information because the application form represents to you. And these application forms are necessary for the third step, in which they have to list the name of applicants who were able to make it who were able to make it to meet the criteria. So for number 4, which is screening interview to identify more promising applicants. So here, a short list of applicants is prepared. Included in the list are the applicants who will be asked to undergo formal interview by the supervisor or the manager. Applicants who are deemed to be the most fitted for the job opening belong to this shorter list. So, imagine you have a lot of processes to undergo in order to get hired in that particular job position. So from the criteria in set 1 to the application forms that you have to fill in, then you will be part of the short list for those who are able to meet the criteria. Here, another list for those who are really or who will be able to undergo the interview. So in the fourth step, there's a big chance for you to be part or to be interviewed. The fifth step is interview by the supervisor, manager, or panel interview. So this time, since you are part of the shortlist in step 4, you will be interviewed by the supervisor or the manager through formal interview of the most promising applicants. So once you are interviewed, therefore you are a promising applicant. Other characteristics of these applicants may be revealed or observed by the supervisor, or manager or panel interviewers. So imagine you are interviewed, and this is one also of the kind of interview wherein your characteristic is measured or your mental capacity is measured and of course your attitude is measured. So in selecting a particular position, you have to undergo these 5 steps. Okay, from step 5, let's proceed to step 6, verifying information provided by the applicant. This is to make sure that the applicant has not given false information about himself or herself. Verification is necessary. Background checking must also be done to avoid the hiring of applicants with a criminal record and to ascertain that he or she has a good moral character. So, after the interview, of course, since you tell some information on the interviewer or the manager or the supervisor, they will verify, of course, if the information you've given are true. So that is one of the responsibility of the company, the management, to really check if the informations are true. Of course, as said, it is because to avoid if they are about to hire a criminal record applicants or an applicant who don't have a good moral character. Number 7. Number 7 is requesting the applicant to undergo psychological and physical examination. Having a healthy mind and a healthy body is important for good job performance. Hence, applicants must be requested to undergo psychological and physical examinations on hiring. So, of course, mind and body are the weapons in business or in any form of organizations or in any jobs. So the company or the management really has to request for psychological and physical examination for those who are hired. Number 8. So this is informing the applicant that he or she has been chosen for the position applied for. Wow, so this is one of the best announcement in which you are really part of the company. Informing the applicant may be done verbally or in writing by the managers who give the final decision regarding the applicant's hiring. So once you get hired, it's good for you. Good for you that you are get hired. So the manager will tell you or anyone in the company who has the responsibility, who has the obligation to tell you either verbally or by writing that you are hired in what you are applying for. So that's it for the steps. So another topic or the second content in our discussion is to know what are the types of job interviews. So what are the types of job interviews? First is the structured interview. So what is this structured interview? Structured interview is the interviewer asks the applicant to answer a set of prepared questions. It's either situational, job knowledge, job simulation, and work requirement questions. So that is a structured interview. What is essential in identifying a structured interview from other types of interviews that a structured interview has a prepared question. Okay, so say for example, she is the employer and she prepared set of questions during the interview or prior the interview. So that is structured interview. Next is an unstructured interview. So what is this unstructured interview? The interviewer has no interview guide and may ask questions freely. So from structured, which has a prepared set of questions, unstructured has no questions prepared. So that is the difference. Say for example, the interviewer, the one who interview, maybe the employer, has no questions prepared. Okay, so that is an structured interview. The interviewer has no questions prepared. Number 3, one-on-one interview. One interviewer is assigned to interview the applicant. So what is this one-on-one interview? Here, she is the interviewee, the one who is being interviewed, and the interviewer who conducted the interview. So there is only a single interviewee and a single interviewer. So that is a one-on-one interview, regardless of if he or she prepared sets of questions or not. As long as there is only single interviewee and interviewer, then that is one-on-one interview. Number 4. Number 4 is panel interview. So what is this panel interview? Panel interview is several interviewers or a panel interviewer may conduct the interview of applicants. 3 to 5 interviewers take turns in asking questions. Say, as interviewer 1, interviewer 2, interviewer 3. These are the panel. These are the ones who will give or interview the interviewee. So, panel interview, there are 3 to 5 interviewers during the interview process. So, let us have a little review with the different types of job interviews. The first one is structured interview, unstructured interview, the one-on-one interview, and the panel interview. After knowing what is selection, what are the steps of selection process, what are the types of job interviews, let us now go to what are the types of employment tests. So what are these types of employment tests? The first one is intelligence tests. So to measure the applicant's mental capacity, test his or her cognitive capacity, speed of thinking, and ability to see relationships in problematic situations. So intelligence test measures our mind. It sharpens our minds. Because these tests actually are the tests that should be given to an applicant in order to know how he or she grasp problems, how he or she able to solve problems. So it sharpens our mind. Number 2 is proficiency and aptitude test. What is this proficiency and aptitude tests? Test his or her present skills and potential for learning other skills. Proficiency and aptitude tests are tests on knowing and developing your present skills, and most likely discovering what other skills that you have. So what are your potentials? So that is proficiency and aptitude tests. Number 3, personality tests. This is designed to reveal the applicant's personal characteristics and ability to relate to others. So we really cannot work in a job or in a company or organizations alone. So we have to go into socializing with the other workers. So these personality tests will help you. This will reveal what kind of person you are and what are your characteristics. So a personality test is conducted in some other companies for them to get into what kind of person you are. Number 4, vocational test. Tests that show the occupation best suited an applicant. So this is a test. This is a kind of test wherein the applicant is put into in which you are really suitable of. Okay, so that is vocational test. So because there are applicants thinking that they want this kind of job, yet they are not suitable for that. So the vocational test is used to know what particular kind of job or where your skills fit to the kind of job you should go into. So that is vocational tests. In reality, there is no one perfect way to select a firm's human resources. Predicting performance is difficult as there is a difference between what individuals can do at present and what they will do in the future. This is because a person's needs and wants change, and so do an organization's climate and environment. The fact that many selection approaches and tests have been devised is enough proof that management experts are still to improve the present selection process. So, when we say selection approaches and changes, eventually these selection approaches in hiring and looking for applicants, qualified applicants will change because the demands also of the organization will change. The environment, the wants, the needs will change. So therefore, there is a limit in putting the selection criteria because of the needs and necessity of the organization in the present situation. Okay, so I want you to get your study notebook and your ball pen because I have an additional activity for you to do. These are two activities under engage and apply. So for engage, I have here the rubric. Since it is a role playing, so the rubric is for role playing rubric. And your task is a role playing through video recording. With you acting as interviewer, conduct an interview for selection purposes with one or your family member as the job applicant. Use the one-on-one unstructured interview format and limit dialogue exchange to 15 minutes. Then submit your video online. So that is for your first task, a one-on-one unstructured interview. For the next activity, I have another rubric for you. The next activity is an essay type. So I have here a 5-point rubric. So that is your rubric. Okay. The level or the points and the description. Okay, for apply. If you were a job applicant, which would you prefer? The one-on-one or the panel interview? Explain your choice. Alright. Let's proceed to the references. Thank you. And before I will end up my video, I would like to say that you have to submit all your outputs during the retrieval of your learning activity sheets and modules. So thank you for listening. God bless you.